Again, just like the actually first speaker, I could not, I'm the third author, and first author was supposed to be speaking today, but she had to present the data somewhere else, so she's not here. So I'm just going to talk about our initial pilot data, actually pilot study that we did to look for outcome of gastrostomy tube in NICU patients. With the advancement in the NICU care, more and more young babies are surviving that requires either some kind of enteral feeding kind of supplement, most commonly either NG tube or gastrostomy tube. And we wanted to see which babies will need short-term use of this enteral feeding. So in short-term, the term is very difficult to define, and we had defined that short-term is less than 2 months, thinking that the complications of NG tube will be more after that time, according to some of the literature. At the same time, it will be easier for the family and patients to take care of the kind of feeding afterwards. So our objective was to look if we can find any kind of information that can tell us which patients will need short-term feeding kind of actually supplement compared to the one who may need more than 2 months. Now, these are kind of patients with many diseases, not just one disease in kind of NICU, starting from actually prematurity itself to they're having kind of multi-system disease, central nervous system disease, cardiovascular disease, lungs kind of problem, all those. So it was very difficult to pick only one disease. So we tried to do some statistical analysis that can kind of differentiate the effect of these different diseases on each other and see if kind of we can somehow identify these factors that can help us. So we did actually retrospective child review of in this phase. We started from year January 2011 because that was the time when we had all the babies having gastrostomy tube placed by pediatric surgeons. Before that, it was the gastroenterologist doing PEG tube or sometimes the surgeon doing gastrostomy tube, and there were not 100% criteria which one to use and not. So once we had all the babies having gastrostomy tube were sent to surgeon to have actually surgically placed tube, we decided to start from that time onwards until this day. And out of those, we selected first 156 patients to start out. We get some kind of statistical analysis. Statistician told us that you will need minimum 150 patients to see some kind of effect. So in this initial study, we wanted to look at many factors that we will decide which one to look more down the road for the remaining 3 years. So we used all these patients who had gastrostomy tube until they had the tube removed, or at least 1 year. And then we decided, then we found out patients who had required tube only for 2 months after they went home from NICU. And then we did some actually statistical analysis to see what factors might be helpful. We had 156 patients, 3 were lost to follow because they moved out of the area. 29 patients required tube less than 2 months after they went home. And 124 patients were still using the tube for more than 2 months, and many of them longer than actually 3 months. There were not that many patients between actually 2 to 3 months of use. We looked at many factors, but including cardiovascular disease, cleft palate, renal disease, infant or diabetic mother, IUGR, whether patients were seen by GI doctors, and none of those were any significant in this first pass. So we are going to present, I'm not going to talk about those at all right now. But the most important part that we found that was helpful was, you can see number 3, percent PO intake. So if we look at age at the time of the surgery to have the G tube placed, which was about 2 months time, gestational age of the patients when they were born was about actually 34 weeks. So most of the patients had gastrostomy tube placed when they were around 37, 38, actually 38, 39 weeks of post-conceptional age, so they were beyond actually 36 weeks. The percent PO intake was the most important factor we found. At the time of placing G tube, if the patient was taking less than 20% of the PO intake, they required tube longer than 2 months. Those who had been taking, those who had G tube actually removed within within 2 months they were taking almost 29% of their oral intake, their kind of intake by mouth, orally. So that was the only factor that kind of became very significant on the first pass if we look only at one item. Now, if you want to look at actually multiple items, then there are other items that we looked that you can look at our poster and see none of those other were important, but the important was gestational age and disease of either central nervous system or the actual chromosomal analysis. So you can see one of those two, if you mix with second other thing, then it will be probably significant. We will go ahead and look that into our kind of next study. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Shah. Next, we will hear There's No Place Like Home, implementation of home